Rome was powerful, but even giants stumble. And when the Romans lost, it wasn't just because many soldiers died. Sometimes defeat hurt their mind, their morale, and even their politics, shaking the whole empire. That's why today we're going to talk about the 10 worst defeats of the Roman army. 10th place, the Caudine Forks Trap, 321 BC. Imagine two Roman armies marching through a very narrow mountain pass, like a tight corridor. When they reached the end, surprise, the exit was blocked by the Samnites. And to make matters worse, the entrance had already been sealed off too. There was nowhere to run. Rome was forced to surrender without even fighting. The soldiers lost their weapons and were made to walk under an arch made of spears, a humiliating ritual that showed, "You are under our control." This episode stained Rome's honor and forced deep changes in both the army and politics. 9th place, the tragedy of the Allia River, 387 BC. Now imagine Rome almost defenseless, facing the Gauls led by Brennus. The battle took place only 18 kilometers from the city, at the Allia River. The Romans panicked right at the start. Their army broke apart, many fled, and others drowned trying to escape. With that, Rome was left open and unprotected. The result, the Gauls invaded and looted the city for 7 months. To make things worse, the Romans had to pay a heavy ransom just to make them leave. It was a wound that never truly healed, and from that point on Rome was determined never to be caught off guard again. 8th place, the disaster at Abritus, 251 AD. This defeat was special for a grim reason. For the very first time, a Roman emperor was killed in battle by a foreign enemy. Emperor Decius was trying to punish the Goths who had invaded and plundered Roman provinces. But during the clash at Abritus, everything went wrong. Rome didn't just lose soldiers, it also lost its leader. For the Romans, this was like an electric shock, a clear sign that even the most powerful man in the empire could fall before the enemy. Picture this. The Goths were fleeing with treasures, but Emperor Decius managed to corner them near Abritus, in a swampy, muddy region. The Romans thought victory was in their hands, but the Goths were smarter. They lured the Roman army right into the marshes, where their formations became useless. In the chaos, an arrow struck Decius' son, the co-emperor Herennius, killing him. Soon after, Decius himself also fell in battle. His body was never found, most likely lost in the swamp. The result, in a single battle, Rome lost 2 emperors at once. It was a devastating blow, plunging the empire even deeper into the crisis of the 3rd century. 7th place, the Battle of Carrhae, 53 BC. Now imagine this. Marcus Crassus, the richest man in Rome, decided to invade the Parthians with an army of 40,000 soldiers. He thought it would be his moment of glory. But there was one big problem. His army was mostly heavy infantry, trained for face-to-face battles, not for desert warfare. The Parthians, on the other hand, were masters of quick tactics. Their cavalry, horse archers riding fast horses, fired endless arrows, always striking and retreating before the Romans could respond. Then came the cataphracts, heavily armored cavalry, smashing through the Roman lines. It was a massacre. Crassus lost his army, his standards, his son, and even his own life. This defeat shook Rome so deeply that the political balance collapsed, eventually leading to the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey. 6th place, the Battle of Adrianople, 378 AD. Centuries later came another disaster. Emperor Valens of the Eastern Roman Empire decided to confront the Goths led by Fritigern. These Goths had risen up after years of Roman exploitation. Valens, overconfident, chose to attack without waiting for reinforcements. But he underestimated the Gothic cavalry. They struck from the rear, breaking apart the Roman infantry's formation. The result was a massacre. Valens was killed in battle, and this defeat was so severe that many historians say it marked the beginning of the end for the Roman Empire. After Adrianople, the whole world understood one thing: Rome was no longer invincible. From that point on, cavalry, soldiers on horseback, became the decisive element in many wars. 5th place, the trap at Lake Trasimene, 217 BC. Now we move to the Second Punic War, when Hannibal's tactical genius shone once again. Picture a Roman army marching along a narrow road, with a huge lake on one side and mountains on the other. Consul Gaius Flaminius led the way, having no idea of the danger ahead. Hannibal, hidden in the hills with his troops, was just waiting for the perfect moment. That morning, the valley was covered by a thick fog. The Romans could barely see a thing. That's when Hannibal gave the signal. Suddenly, Carthaginian soldiers appeared from all directions, charging down the hills and completely surrounding the Romans. There was no space to escape nor to fight properly. The result? A massacre. The Roman army was nearly annihilated, and even the consul himself was killed. Fourth place, the disaster at Orazio, 105 BC. Here, the worst enemy wasn't foreign, but Roman pride. Two generals, Scaurus, Scipio, and Maximus, hated each other so much that they refused to unite their forces against the Germanic tribes, the Cimbri and the Teutons. Each set up his own camp separately, as if it were a competition. And when the enemy attacked, Rome paid dearly. Without cooperation, the two armies were destroyed, one after the other. The losses were so catastrophic that fear spread through Rome, with many fearing the city itself could fall. This panic forced major changes. General Gaius Marius reformed the army, turning it into a more professional and powerful fighting force. Third place, the brilliance of Cannae, 216 BC. And guess who shows up again? Yes, Hannibal. At Cannae, he delivered one of the greatest lessons in military strategy of all time. The Roman army had nearly twice as many soldiers, but Hannibal wasn't intimidated. He arranged his troops in a peculiar way. The weaker soldiers were placed in the center, forming a bulge forward, like a swollen belly. The Romans advanced confidently, believing they would crush the enemy. But little by little, Hannibal's center fell back on purpose, drawing the Romans inward. And when they realized it, it was too late. The Carthaginian flanks closed in like pincers, while Hannibal's cavalry attacked from behind. The Romans were completely surrounded, with no way out. It was a bloodbath, perhaps the most humiliating defeat in Rome's history. At Cannae, Hannibal proved his unmatched genius. The Romans thought they were winning by pushing the Carthaginian center, but it was all part of his plan. With the cavalry victorious on the flanks and attacking the rear, the Roman army was trapped, with no room to fight or flee. It became one of the greatest slaughters in ancient history, and Rome nearly surrendered after this disaster. Second place, the trap in the Teutoburg forest, 9 AD. Now picture this. 3 Roman legions marching confidently through a dense and dangerous forest. Their commander, Publius Varus, trusted Arminius, a Germanic leader who had been raised in Rome and seemed to be an ally. But in truth, Arminius was plotting betrayal. For 3 days, Germanic warriors poured out of the trees, attacking without rest. The terrain was terrible for the Romans, who couldn't form their battle lines. Little by little, the 3 legions were wiped out to the very last man. This defeat was so shocking that Emperor Augustus never recovered from the blow. It put an end once and for all to Rome's ambition of conquering Germania, fixing the Rhine River as a permanent frontier. First place, the disaster at Cape Bon for 68 AD. Finally, we arrive at Rome's final blow. In 468 AD, a massive Roman Byzantine fleet attempted to retake North Africa, which was under Vandal control. It was a last hope to save the Western Roman Empire. But the Vandal king Genseric was a master of naval warfare. In a cunning move, he sent ships loaded with flammable materials against the Roman fleet during the night. Imagine the horror. Entire ships bursting into flames, fire spreading across the sea, and panic sweeping through the soldiers. Hundreds of vessels were destroyed, along with Rome's final chance to rise again. This defeat was the final nail in the coffin of the empire, which would collapse completely just 8 years later. After this tragedy, there was no way for Rome to recover. The fleet destroyed, the soldiers lost, and the failure to retake Africa were the last push that sent the empire crashing down. From then on, the fall of the Western Roman Empire was only a matter of time. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think there's another battle or Roman defeat that should have made it onto this list? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. And hey, If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.